There is a type of footballer that modern football is slowly killing off. The number 10. The playmaker. The artist. The player who doesn't fit neatly into a system, who bends the system around himself instead. Players who looked at a football pitch not as a set of instructions, but as a canvas. That breed is almost extinct now. Football has become faster, more structured, more data-driven. Coaches want pressing machines and positional automatons. Creativity without efficiency gets you dropped. Flair without output gets you sold. And then there is Rayan Cherki. Born on August 17, 2003 in Lyon, of Algerian descent, Cherki grew up at one of France's most celebrated academies, a factory that produced Karim Benzema, Hatem Ben Arfa, and Nabil Fekir. When he made his professional debut at 16, the story felt almost too familiar. Another Lyon prodigy, another generational talent, another jewel handed to the world too soon. But this story is different, because the question with Cherki was never whether the talent was real. The question was whether the world he was entering was ready to give that talent the space it needed to breathe. For a long time, the answer was no. When Hatem Ben Arfa made his debut at Lyon, he walked into a machine, a dominant squad with experienced leaders. Juninho directing traffic from midfield, Michael Essien and Mahamadou Diarra providing the engine. The system was built. Ben Arfa just had to plug in and express himself. Cherki had no such luxury. He arrived at the first team during one of the most turbulent periods in Lyon's recent history. The club was in transition, tactically inconsistent, searching for an identity it couldn't find. There was no stable system, no experienced core, no clarity about what Lyon even wanted to be. In the 2021-22 season, under Peter Boss's 4-3-3, Cherki played just 726 minutes in Ligue 1. Boss's system relied on wide wingers stretching the pitch, fullbacks providing overlaps, and compact midfield triangles. It was a structure that left almost no room for a free central playmaker operating between the lines. Which is exactly what Cherki is. He wasn't a tactical fit. And in modern football, if you don't fit the system, you don't play. Think about that for a moment. One of the most talented teenagers in European football, a player clubs across the continent were already scouting, played less than 730 minutes in a full league season because the system had no place for him. Not because he wasn't good enough, because the environment wasn't built for what he offered. Everything began to shift in October 2022 when Laurent Blanc replaced Boss. And what Blanc did, almost immediately, was give Cherki the one thing he had been denied: freedom. Deployed as a floating number 10 in a 4-2-3-1, Cherki was given license to roam. He would start in the right half space, central enough to dictate, wide enough to combine, and drift to whichever side needed an overload. He wasn't asked to hug a touchline or execute a pattern. He was asked to read the game and solve it. And in that environment, something beautiful emerged. Cherki operating between the lines, who would deliver for Alexandre Lacazette in the box. It was fluid, instinctive, and almost impossible to defend consistently. Cherki finished that 2022-23 season with 4 goals and 6 assists. Barcola, 1 year older and also an academy product, finished with 5 goals and 8 assists, slightly ahead in the numbers. That gap mattered more than it should have. Because in modern football, what gets you noticed is the decisive action at the end of the move, the goal, the final assist. What rarely gets credited is the player who shaped the move 3 passes earlier. Cherki was constantly that player, the initiator, the one who saw the possibility before anyone else did. But Barcola's contributions appeared more directly measurable, and in a game increasingly driven by visible output, that visibility had consequences. In the summer of 2023, Barcola moved to Paris Saint-Germain for €45 million. He would go on to play Champions League football. Cherki stayed at Lyon, a club that wasn't even in European competition. And suddenly, a question that had been building quietly became unavoidable. Was Cherki actually going to become the player everyone believed he could be? Standing at 5'9", Cherki's frame gives him something rare: an exceptionally low center of gravity, that allows him to keep the ball extraordinarily close while moving through traffic. The ball isn't just at his feet, it's almost attached to him. The kind of trickery you associate with the great number 10s, who are no longer common in the modern game. But what makes Cherki truly special isn't the tricks, it's the decision-making behind them. He is genuinely two-footed in a way that very few players are. Not two-footed in the sense that he can use his weaker foot in an emergency. Two-footed in the sense that he has no passing bias. Left, right, diagonals, in-swingers, cutbacks, switches of play. One of his signature moves is what analysts call the peel-back, stepping away from his man and then bursting in the opposite direction. And then there is his passing. Incisive through balls are his trademark, using the area between his heel and toe, with a weight of pass that speaks to an almost telepathic understanding of where his teammates will be. One analyst compared his decision-making directly to Kevin De Bruyne, not in terms of running power or physicality, but in the sense that both players make decisions not to follow coached patterns, but to create entirely new possibilities that nobody else on the pitch has seen yet. That is not a small comparison to make, and it is not made lightly. But here is where honesty matters, because the script that only celebrates misses the full picture. And Cherki's story demands the full picture. His physicality has been a genuine concern throughout his career. He doesn't have a compact, powerful frame. In physical duels, he can be shoved off the ball. His back-to-goal play, when he has to rely on strength rather than technique, has been a weakness. These are not minor footnotes. They are structural limitations that have contributed to the doubts surrounding him. His off-ball work has also been inconsistent. But some of it is simply the profile of a player whose greatest gifts are in possession, and who has historically conserved his energy for the moments that matter most. His long passing, while creative, can be erratic, occasionally lacking the power to skip past an organized defensive line before it can recover. And earlier in his career, there was a tendency to always seek the final pass, even in situations where the simpler option was clearly correct. An attempt to always be the decisive player, which occasionally made him predictable in moments where unpredictability was the more dangerous choice. The 2023-24 season was difficult. Fabio Grosso replaced Laurent Blanc. The club continued to struggle for consistency, and Cherki finished the year with just 1 goal and 6 assists, a return that did nothing to silence the doubters. He was the second best dribbler per 90 minutes across Europe's top 5 leagues that season. But in a results-driven game, 1 goal in a league campaign is an easy headline to write. But then, Pierre Sage arrived. And then 2024-25 happened. 12 goals, 19 assists, across Ligue 1 and the Europa League. Those are not the numbers of a talented player finally finding form. Those are the numbers of a player who had fundamentally changed something about his game. And the data tells you exactly what changed. In 2023-24, Cherki's post-shot expected goals, the metric that measures finishing quality after the shot is taken, accounting for placement and power, sat at just 0.05 per shot. In 2024-25, that number jumped to 0.18. He actually took fewer shots that season, 45 compared to 57 the year before. He wasn't shooting more, he was shooting better. The decision-making in front of goal had been transformed. The flair had always been there. Now the efficiency was there too. Lyon, facing severe financial difficulties and with just 1 year remaining on Cherki's contract, could not resist. Manchester City moved. They paid €36 million, notably below his €45 million market valuation, in what was described as a calculated opportunity by a club that had been monitoring him for years. The reasoning was clear. Kevin De Bruyne, the creative engine who had defined City's attacking identity for nearly a decade, had departed. City identified Cherki as the profile, not a replacement for De Bruyne. Nobody replaces De Bruyne, but a player with the same instinct for creating new possibilities where others see only closed doors. His debut told you something about who he is. Coming off the bench against Wolverhampton, he scored. First competitive appearance, new league, new system, new everything, and he scored. A starting role against Tottenham exposed the adjustment still needed. An injury then sidelined him for nearly a month. Then came Bournemouth. Guardiola made a decision, dropping Tijani Reinders and choosing technical quality over physical presence in midfield. He trusted Cherki with the keys. Cherki assisted Erling Haaland twice, and from that moment, his role began to expand in the way that all the best partnerships do. By the turn of the year, he was second in the Premier League for assists. Against Sunderland, he produced what may be the assist of the season, a perfectly weighted Rabona cross that Foden headed home. And here is what makes the City environment so important for Cherki specifically. He is surrounded by elite athletes. Doku, Savinho, Gvardiol, Haaland, players who are superior in terms of raw running power and physical presence. In that environment, his role becomes even more potent. He doesn't need to be the one driving through space. When he has the ball, City's attackers start moving differently. Haaland varies his positioning, and midfielders anticipate second balls. And City sustains possession around 60% of the time, which means Cherki spends the majority of any given match doing exactly what he does best, finding attacking solutions in possession, rather than running back and forth to win the ball back. The environment doesn't just suit him, it was almost designed for him. If everything up to this point was the argument for Cherki, then the last few weeks of the 2025-26 season have been the proof. City went to to the Etihad, and received Liverpool in an FA Cup quarter-final. Haaland scored a hat-trick. City won 4-0, and in the middle of it all, Cherki was the orchestrator, picking pockets, threading passes. After the game, City winger Antoine Semenyo could barely contain his admiration. He said Cherki is one of the world's best, and that from his very first training session, watching the things Cherki did with a ball made him ask himself what kind of player this actually was. But the moment that will define Cherki's debut Premier League season, the moment that tells you everything, came on April 19th, 2026. Manchester City versus Arsenal. A genuine title six-pointer at the Etihad. 6 points separating the two sides. Everything on the line. Cherki had already struck the post in the 4th minute. Then, in the 16th minute, he received the ball in the Arsenal half, cut left to beat Gabriel Magalhaes, one of the Premier League's best defenders, then slithered back onto his path, gliding past Declan Rice, and rolled the ball calmly into the bottom corner past David Raya. He had just dribbled past 2 Premier League Player of the Season contenders as though they were training cones in a title decider at the Etihad in the 16th minute. Teammate Nico O'Reilly said afterwards, "It makes life easier for all of us when he can go out and do that magic." Guardiola, who had urged him after the Rabona assist to play with the simplicity of Lionel Messi, could not hide his admiration. He called Cherki one of the most unbelievably talented players I've ever seen. Then came Chelsea away, 2 assists, an 8.8 FOTMOB rating. The first 2 goals set up in a 3-0 win that moved City 3 points closer to Arsenal in the title race. 13 goal contributions in league play for the season. 9 open play assists in the Premier League, more than any other player. And he did all of this during City's late season sprint for a potential domestic treble. The League Cup already won, the FA Cup final reached, the Premier League title race alive. He is not a passenger on this run, he is the engine of it. So, how good is Rayan Cherki? He is a player who debuted at 16 in an unstable club that had no tactical system built for his strengths, and being asked to fit into structures that were never designed for what he offers, who improved his finishing so dramatically in one season that the numbers look like a different player, who moved to one of the best clubs in the world for below market value because the circumstances forced a discount, not because the talent warranted one, produced a Rabona assist at the Etihad, torn Liverpool apart in an FA Cup quarter-final, and is currently leading the entire Premier League in open play assists. He is technically one of the most complete attacking midfielders of his generation. 2-footed, creative, passing range that few players anywhere in the world can match. His limitations are real, but addressable. His ceiling, in the right environment, is genuinely elite.